won't think it will affect it, but what we discussed yesterday, especially like Northern Beaches, there will be an impact. Will it be good or bad? Take it
Look,
away.
we had a go at the light rail with the monorail in the year 2000, and that was a big stuff up. They've actually still got the monorail station sitting around. You get worried about that, but I do have to say I'm really excited about this light rail system. I think it's connecting up parts of Sydney that are really going to be assisted. It's tapping into areas that really need service and to reduce traffic. And if they can pull cars off the road, I'm all for it. I think it's a fantastic idea. Further to that, I think we've had a lot of really good improvements lately between our highway, our West Connects, our trains that are coming, the Northern Beaches upgrades that are happening in traffic with Beeline bus. We've had some huge infrastructure benefits we've got to be proud of.
100%, and to see them finally come to fruition, because a lot of it's been in the pipeline for 5 or 10 years. So I think we're finally going to see some progress and potentially better traffic. I think we got a taste of it on the Northern Beaches with the Beeline, and that's probably the smallest change, and that's had a dramatic impact for the better for residents and just the local traffic in the area. I think one thing we'll talk about before, Mark, which I didn't know and neither did you, was why it took so long for the light rail. And I thought I'd just share this little fun fact. So originally in the 60s, when they decided to cease the use of the trams and the light rail, they, instead of removing the trams and all the cabling, they just covered it up. So when they started doing the new lines for this light rail, when they started digging into the concrete, when they were expecting to find nothing, they found all the old tram lines and cabling which had to be removed, and hence why we've got a couple-year delay on it. So I never knew that. I just thought they were just taking the mickey and being a little bit slow, like everyone. So it's good to know there's a legitimate excuse.
Well, it never happens on budget, never happens on schedule.
Yeah. Amal said on our Facebook, it did stop, hasn't it? Okay. Facebook Live stopped.
All right, so with the light rail, very interesting how that's going to be working and taking traffic away. But what people don't realise is if you add cars into the grid of the city, if you add traffic into the city, it has a knock-on effect to all the outer suburbs from Sydney. So somewhere like the Northern Beaches, there's probably 6 or 7 suburbs away from the city. It really does have a knock-on effect. So I'm really excited to see that. It's interesting because they're dropping it into the holiday season, so it's probably a good move because there's less stress on the city and on the system, because obviously during business hours, peak business periods, it's going to stress out the system a little bit, so they're probably bringing it in a really good period. But it's going to be interesting to see when that overlays into February when a lot of businesses are back full steam ahead, and then you got that train full steam ahead, literally.
Yeah.
Then you've got the Northern Beaches run, because I can guarantee you, and I couldn't work it out until about the last couple of weeks, I've got a pretty serious run to get to work, and I actually have to bypass sort of coast down the side of the city. I don't go through the city, but it used to take me, from what it used to, like when the Beeline bus was introduced to the Northern Beaches, I saved about 20% off my trip. Literally,
Yep.
when the bus line started running, my run to work was 20% faster. Now, for some weird reason, about 12 weeks ago, 16 weeks ago, it went back to the bad old tricks, because I had a good run for about 2 or 3 years. It went back to the bad old tricks. Not only did it go back to the bad old tricks, but it actually got worse. And I was having a chat with a friend who's in infrastructure, asking about, the possible reasons why I was getting more traffic going to work. And he was saying, look, you got to understand that a lot of major roads have been closed down for the tram service, and the tram service has not been put on. So it's really actually stressed out part of the city. and you may find that there is a knock-on effect with you and with traffic because of your travels. And I thought that was really interesting, that knock-on effect. And then I thought, hang on a second, when it's actually engaged and running in December, it's going to be bloody awesome.
Yeah, because so I think in relation to Northern Beaches, where I think we could have a really good turnaround. Well, instead of like look at the Seaforth deviation and Spit Bridge. So where someone would normally be driving into the city, especially if you need your car during the day, they would have driven in compared to taking the bus or the ferry because of just getting from say one side of the city to the other. But with this light rail, I think it's going to push people either more onto the bus because they know they can get to one side of the city to the other a lot easier now with the trains, or it'll push them onto the ferry because once again they can get to A and B in the city without using their car. So I think we could see some huge some reduction of traffic around that Spit Bridge because people will opt to take the B line and the trams now.
Yeah, that's actually really true because that even if you get a ferry and that ferry can dial you in to Randwick, because it's pretty much going to drop you off at Circular Quay, George Street. You're going to jump on that train, and that train's going to take you straight into Randwick. I think you may well find there's people, instead of if I had a car and I was working in Randwick and I was living in DY, I would just take the car because any other option is pretty painful. But if you think about that, now you get a ferry straight across, you jump on a train which is super regular, and you're in faster than ever. So a ferry can make it across, I think, in 17 minutes, the fast ferry from Manly, and then the fast ferry from Manly 17 minutes, and then if you're getting that train straight into Randwick, I don't know how long that's going to take, we'll say 10 minutes, 12 minutes. With under 30 minutes, you should be able to get in from Manly to Randwick. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I think, and what, during traffic in the morning, that would be an hour and a half, I reckon. Don't you reckon? Or just under?
Easy.
Yeah.
Easy. Now,
so you're saving an hour there.
It's huge. Now, another one I wanted to have a quick chat about is compulsory acquisition. Dirty words.
In Dudley Street, Balgowlah.
Yeah.
Right under our nose. I think there was an article in where was it? Manly Daily. So I think it's 20... Well, what is compulsory acquisition, Mark? What is it, first of all? Who's taking it?
The government can buy any house they want.
Any house? Anywhere?
Any house in the interest of the state. They can enforce compulsory acquisition. Now, the government doesn't have to pay you overs. The government can just pay what they think is market value and fair. So there'd be an assessment from bank valuers. Really interesting, because I don't know about stamp duty, because you'd be forced to pay an extra 40, 80 grand in stamp duty if you're buying again. But that's pretty hardcore. Like, the reason we're talking about it, guys, is we're on the northern beaches of Sydney, and the northern beaches of Sydney, 50 houses just got slapped with letters in December, just before Christmas, saying we're considering buying a house. Or we're going to be buying a house, I don't know which one. But we had one of our clients, an Italian client, get bought out. They had a commercial property, compulsory acquisition came along, bang.
Yeah, that was, you're talking about the servo in French's Forest?
No, I won't talk about it because it's a particular client. But I won't be particular. But I think that it's really, really interesting, because they weren't happy. They were potentially going to develop that site to something beautiful. Council didn't care, didn't consider, and just paid them out.
You break out.
The thing that actually got me was not only is compulsory acquisition real, but compulsory acquisition is actually happening for the Northern Beaches Tunnel.
Yeah, exactly, and that's going to be a big thing as well. So,
like, you can't tell me they're going to buy these houses and then decide not to do the tunnel.
Well, they did last time, didn't they? It wasn't all that land. Didn't they do that previously in Seaforth with all the land?
They didn't buy anything.
They owned it all and then they've sold it off. Wasn't that, the end of French's Forest Road where you go to Wakehurst, that bend? Wasn't all that land originally for the tunnel? And then they sold it off 10 years ago and they got developed a home? It was on the corner.
Yeah,
I always
interesting.
believe that, but I think now with the amount of, I think support, it's got a lot of support for the tunnel. I don't think, as you said, I don't think they would be doing this if it wasn't going to go ahead. But what's the timeline? Like that could still mean they buy the houses. This process for homeowners could still be what, a year? Do you know any details from the letter? Is it
Yeah, I think
there's a
originally
letter,
I saw
here's the
some.
check?
I originally saw some documentation saying 2026.
Yeah,
I don't know how old that documentation was, but 2026. Say we're getting it between 2025 and 2030. It's still bloody impressive. And if you consider it's going to go from Balgala straight into North Sydney, that's a dream
yeah,
run.
yeah,
And again, it's going to work for people on the western side of Sydney because of that knock-on effect that we were talking about. So there is that ripple effect. And even though we're going to benefit from the trains that are going in, the installation of those trains running from December from Randwick into the city, I think that when this tunnel comes into effect, that's all. Those areas are going to be benefited as well. Because don't forget, North Sydney's also got a train line. So people are going to be able to Northern Beaches straight there, straight into a train, bang, in the city.
yeah. I think it's a really good start. So even though the train line's predominantly the city now, but once that foundation is there, over the next 5, 10, 15 years, you never know where they will expand that system into as well. So there's always sort of more to the story, and I don't think it'll end at the city. I reckon it could go a little bit further.
Oh yeah, and we've
As well.
seen some big changes, Michael. So it's been massive. Like if you look at what's the infrastructure upgrades that we've had the last 5 or 10 years. I know we never pat the government on the back or the contractors or anyone, but we really got to. These guys have done a phenomenal job. It seems like it's never ending. If they fix one thing, then another thing needs fixing, and they fix that, and then another thing needs fixing. But I think we've got to turn around and actually give those guys in government a good pat on the back because this infrastructure has been fantastic.
Yeah, and it's going to be exciting to see the results of it coming out as well. But so I don't think Facebook didn't work this morning, Mark. Anything else you want to add this morning?
No, I've just lost my audio because I had that. 1 sec.
Oh shit, were you doing Zoom audio?
No, I got you back.
Okay, so just trying to restart it all. Anyway.
All right, all good, mate. Well, I think it's interesting conversation for people, and you know what? It's actually I find that the information is not readily available.
No, it's hard.
It's hard to find and actually piece it all together. And a lot of people don't necessarily know they need the information, but of course you do. Like to talk about transport, buses, trains and stuff like that, it is so important to all of us in the community. It's not reported out in much. Like it's a one-hit wonder. You see the stories, make an appearance, and then they disappear for a year or two, and you go, what happened to that tunnel? So I think it'll be interesting if we keep reporting this sort of stuff because people really, really love it.
Correct. And I also find what you do here, it's sometimes not and it's generally on the media channels or the news. So it's not really the whole picture. It's what will grab a headline. It's not, and it's sometimes not true, but it's heavily skewed. Like when I was going through some of the light rail stuff the other day, it's actually, it's hard to get the information, but there is information out there, but it's not really in an everyday format. I think a lot of people like the visual, the audio at the moment. So I think we'll do a bit on it as well, because some of the documents, like the government, they put out there, they're like 50 pages and boring. So you're not going to bother.
And I also love how people call bullshit. So the great thing about social media is we can run a story on tunnels or trains or traffic, and the amount of input we get from the public's bloody